Welcome to Wednesday night OWCP chats with Chris and Jeannie. Where did you go, Chris?
I'm right there.
Okay. Tonight we have Eric on, guys. Everybody wants Eric. Everybody loves Eric.
It's a especially special treat for me because that means tonight I have basically no responsibilities whatsoever.
Right. So tonight we're just gonna have a little chit chat with Eric about third-party injuries, maybe some OPM disability questions, and some schedule award questions. And in the meantime, there we go. That's better.
That's much better, huh?
In the meantime, don't forget to like, comment, and share. And then if you're on YouTube, don't forget to click the subscribe button and click that bell for live notifications. In the meantime, Chris will do a quick housekeeping, and then we're going to go right over to Eric.
Yeah, so we were just in Las Vegas, which, as far as the gambling scene goes, I should have just stayed a retired gambler because that didn't work out for me. You know, Vegas was built by losers, and this weekend it was built a little bit more by me. But we did get 26 new leads for new doctors in areas where we don't currently have offices. So that was really big. That was the whole point. I don't expect all 26 to sign up with us, but I expect a third of them to. Some good ones in Vegas and in California, Iowa. I think we got a good, or Idaho, whatever.
There was like 26.
South Dakota, North Dakota. So a lot of places where there's no doctors, like there's a whole part of the country where there's just no help, and hopefully not for long. Then tomorrow we're getting up at not even crack of dawn. We're getting up tonight.
In a couple hours.
Yeah, we're going to get up in a couple hours and go to the airport. We're flying to Tucson where we're doing an APWU, sort of a 5-state training. And so I do my training on Saturday morning. Hello?
Saturday morning, they want him to train for 6 hours.
What?
Yeah.
Well, that ain't happening. Okay, so you get a solid 3 hours out of me there, and it'll be the best 3 hours of your life. Hey, tomorrow we're going to be in Gilbert, Arizona for a couple of hours starting at noon Mountain Time.
Yeah.
So if you are in the Phoenix area, come out and see us. If you want the address, go on our website, the locations tab. And then Friday we'll be in Tucson in Dr. Heaton's office checking things out. So come see us there as well.
Yeah, so just to let you guys know, we're streaming off of LinkedIn, Instagram, YouTube, and Facebook. And if you guys notice, there's the closed caption on there for those of you that asked. So I'm going to go ahead and share. And then do you have anything else?
Yeah, one more thing.
Okay.
So when we were in Vegas, we met up with Tanya Ferry and her husband, Nino, for lunch. And they got me this really cool thing. It says, "You are not alone." It's like the book. So that was really nice. And so I'm using it tonight. Anyways, it's really good to see folks when we go places. So we hope that when we're in, Gilbert and Tucson, you'll come out and see us.
Yep. All right. So we're just going to have Eric go ahead and introduce himself. There's a lot of people on here that don't know who you are.
I'll introduce you. Eric is the most prolific winning OWCP lawyer on the face of planet Earth.
Not true.
He is loved more time. Everyone loves Eric.
Not
Eric,
true.
the most loved OWCP lawyer on the face of planet Earth.
Yeah. And Eric, before you start, let them know one thing, because a lot of people get this confused, that you don't have to be in their state. So we're going to go ahead and turn it over to Eric Blowers, everybody. Don't forget to share.
Well, for background, the practice of law in the area of federal workers' compensation is not restricted by state because it's a federal practice. So we represent people. I think I probably have about 41 states right now.
Wow.
I do have North Dakota. I don't think I have Nebraska. I have one in Alaska. I don't have one in Hawaii. So I'm looking for one in Hawaii to go visit. But we do cover just about all the states in the country. In the practice area is very limited in the number of attorneys. If you've tried to find help, it's very limited. The problem in this practice area, unlike state workers' compensation, is attorneys are paid by the claimants or our clients. We don't take a percentage of a win. We don't take a percentage of your back pay. We bill hourly, but I specialize even more than most federal workers' compensation attorneys do. I specialize in third-party cases, which means the injury caused to a federal worker was caused by somebody who's not a government employee. A lot of times that happens in the area of postal workers, and I have been changing the way I work those cases. I'm doing much more serious cases now. This year alone, I've had 2 deaths of postal workers, both rural carriers. I am getting more and more into the more serious cases. The neck sprains without needs for surgery are something I'm trying to get a little bit away from, because people who are seriously injured really, really need my help. And I'm trying to get my services to those people that need it most. Not saying that other people don't need it, but other people can handle it. The more serious cases, there's so much that comes into play. Entitlement to OWCP compensation, entitlement to third-party liability, possible entitlement to OPM disability retirement, possible entitlement to Social Security disability. There's just so many potential benefits that come into play that I specialize in and no one else does. So I'm quickly, I hate to say I don't have time for people, but I literally go into work at about 6:45 in the morning, and by 30 in the afternoon, I'm just shot. I'm spent. I'm thinking all day. I'm trying to help people get paid because OWCP is doing something wrong. I've got one horrific third-party case right now where OWCP, the lady is the mother of 5 children and has not been paid in a year. And OWCP agrees that she's entitled to pay, but the problem is the post office is not giving pay rates. So I've gone to the Secretary of Labor, the Postmaster General, the head of OWCP, and the 2 senators who represent this claimant. Everybody knows now that she's entitled to pay, and everybody agrees she's entitled to pay. It's the post office that's the holdup. And Jeannie and Chris, you know better than most how difficult the post office is to deal with.
Yeah.
So I'm specializing in those cases where people really, really, really need my help. I did help an attorney today, just late this afternoon, who I'm not representing the person, but I'm trying to help that attorney get that person paid because they don't know what they're doing. And it's just unfortunate. It's a very complex practice area. I am a former federal employee. I'm the only attorney in the country that practices this who's a former federal employee. No one else does it. So I understand the mentality of federal employees. I understand the process. I understand the federal employees' retirement system better than probably 99.9% of the people in the country. I understand what benefits you're entitled to. Every state does have different laws when it comes to third-party liability. If I have the need or I feel I'm outside my comfort zone, I will associate with an attorney in that state. But the third-party aspect of the claim is not as beneficial usually as the benefits you're going to get from OWCP or the Department of Labor. So my focus, my concentration is getting you everything you can possibly get. A quick settlement on a third-party case is probably about 8 times out of 10 not the best thing for you. It's just not. The lifelong benefits you're going to get from some federal benefit that you're entitled to is going to be a better benefit. I recognize and appreciate what those benefits are, and I'm a very issue-oriented person. Give me the issue. I'll find the resolution. I'll get you what you got coming to you.
So are you saying that when people get in car wrecks on the job, they should not call the PI lawyer they find in a billboard at the street corner they got an accident at? I'll say it. Don't do it. I tell everyone all the time. Don't call those lawyers. It's not that they're great lawyers, right?
I do understand the mentality. You know, you sit up late at night, you see the attorneys who have all the advertisements on, I'm going to fight for you. They're going to fight for you to get money for themselves. They're not going to fight for you to get the federal benefits that you may or may not be entitled to, frankly, because they don't know what they are.
That's correct.
They'll try to, you know, pull, I don't want to say pull a fast one. That's not right. They'll try to get you what they can in the third party liability aspect of the case, but they don't tell you you've got a certain amount of money you got to pay back to the federal government, and you can mitigate that amount if you do it right. That's my specialty where I come in and get what you're entitled to, the most you're possibly entitled to. Some people, I can tell you right now, 99% of attorneys have no idea that you as a claimant may be entitled to more money if the attorney takes more money. It's a crazy formula, but if you want to take more money home, it may be better to pay the attorney more. It's just crazy. The way the system operates is it's against the claimants. We all know that. Very few claims examiners will tell you everything you're entitled to. They don't have time to regularly review your case. We specialize in really getting these cases resolved as quickly as possible and getting all the federal benefits you can possibly give. And really, more importantly than anything, giving you options, giving you the options of selecting OPM disability retirement in lieu of returning on a limited duty job, because a limited duty job may not be the same shift you had before and you've got kids to take care of. I've seen these limited duty jobs where somebody was working Monday to Friday, 8 a.m. to 5 p.m., turn into Wednesday night to Sunday night from 9 p.m. to 6 a.m. The most important thing for you is options as an injured person, injured worker, understanding what your medical options are to get treatment, understanding what your options are to get continued pay, understanding what your options are to resolve an underlying claim that the government may, in fact, make you pursue.
And there's a lot of mistakes that are made outside of us, right? And I think I'd have to reread the transcript. I'm not sure that you said this, but something about supervisors not knowing what they're doing. I think most people on here are going to be shocked that that's something that it was said.
Talking about supervisors of, are you talking about, Chris? Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll say this: people who get promoted generally within, and I hate to say Postal Service, but 80% of federal employee compensation cases come from the Postal Service. So Postal Service is who we deal with mostly. The supervisors get promoted for whatever reason. They become a 204B, they get moved up because somebody retired. They don't get the training they need on federal workers' compensation matters. I had a lady call today. Injury was in 2019, and she did not get her claim filed until 2021. And I said, why not? She said, well, my supervisor said she did not know what doctor to send me to, so I never filed the claim. That's common.
Yeah, the supervisor doesn't have any right to get into the doctor decision process. They're supposed to just fill out their forms and get the hell out of the way.
You're right, Chris, but a lot of times these workers don't know who else to turn to. Yeah. So they think their supervisor has the answers, and they don't. And they don't know who to call. They don't know what resources to exploit to get the answers that they need. Yeah, and right. I hate to say it, I spend a good portion of every day just trying to educate people on what they should do. I don't need more cases. I'll help people that need help, but I try to educate people. I don't want people to hire me. I don't need the work. If I can tell you in a 10-minute conversation what you need to do to help yourself, I will do it.
And see, and this is one of the many reasons that everyone loves Eric Blowers. And all kidding aside, I mean, you probably tell more people how not to hire you than those that do.
And I want to do that.
That's uncommon, and everyone knows it. It's super uncommon, so we all appreciate that.
And I hate when Jeannie calls me and says you have a new client, you have somebody you need to talk to. And I'm at the point now where I'm having people in my office return the calls because I just can't get to the work I need to get to with existing clients. Yeah. So it's a triage. Now I'm triaging cases, and I can spot pretty quickly those cases where somebody needs my help. I can't spend, and I used to spend an hour on the phone with somebody, with the whole background. I'm issue oriented. Tell me what the issue is. I'm going to tell you how to resolve the issue, or I'm going to tell you who to go to get help to get the issue resolved. And it's usually federal injury centers because they know how to write this stuff up. And that's what it comes down to. 90% of the problem, 80% of the problems I see out there are medical issues. The doctors don't know how to write this up. You can't find a doctor who will treat you. The continuum of care that OWCP requires you to go through is ridiculous. Yeah. Sometimes I tell people, if they need an MRI, I had this today. A lady had a foot injury, but she's got problems in her upper leg. And she called me because her doctor said she needs a lawyer and she needs to get an MRI approved for the upper leg. Forget trying to get OWCP to approve that. Use your health insurance. It's not an accepted claim. It's not expanded to include that yet. Use your health insurance, get your MRI done. If it shows that you have a problem from the original injury, we'll go for a consequential at that point.
Yeah, and I think most problems in OWCP can be solved by having a doctor that knows what they're doing, that can write good narratives, and that has a network of people. Our offices are building networks of surgeons and, pain management specialists and MRI imaging facilities, right? So that if you come to a Federal Injury Center's office, probably 80% of the time, you don't need to worry about health insurance either, because the imaging center will just take you on the the understanding that our doctor will get the claim accepted and they'll get paid when that happens.
But Chris, that's the exception. That's the exception.
It is. Federal
Where-
injury center is the exception.
Every time somebody calls me, my first look is where's the nearest federal injury center or a doctor I know. And outside the federal injury centers, there's very few doctors I know that will take OWCP throughout the country. I'm just trying to get people. When I was in college, I worked at a hospital. The facility was called Entry to Care. That's what I look at this as. We're trying to get people into the care system somehow.
Right.
Where do they enter the system to get the care that they need?
Yeah.
So that's what I'm doing a lot of times.
Well, we have a lot of questions that have come in, and somebody said, which is fine. It's actually funny. I'm going to get a good laugh out of it later, that the young lady on the screen should put her phone down. So we actually new here. First of all, that's the funniest thing I've ever heard, and thank you for saying it. But I could apply that to her life like 28 hours a day because she loves her phone a lot.
And I work off of my phone.
But in this case, so we're reading questions. So I have mine as well. So we're reading questions
and we're sharing.
And we're sharing, so other people will have a chance to see this. So we're not just playing games on our phone.
So sorry, Lori. That's what I'm doing. No offense.
But now she's going to be looking at her phone, asking questions, and we're going to be answering those questions for the next little while.
All right. So when Eric is talking, just go ahead, take notes. I'll be reading the questions, and he's going to be answering.
Oh, and it would be wrong if I didn't mention. So you can see this. This is my third book that you can't see the whole thing.
You see your name there, Eric?
It says Eric Blowers.
No, wow.
It's there. So Eric wrote a really great chapter on third-party injuries like car wrecks, because there's 27,000 postal employee car wrecks every year.
Yeah. And
on the job. And so it's a big deal. So he did us a favor and wrote a really nice chapter on that topic. So check that out at breakingowcp.com.
Okay, so I'm going to tell you guys where I'm at. So if I don't read your question, you're going to have to repost it. So the first one that comes up on my phone is SC Hall. She asks, are there any recommendations for other attorneys for less serious cases?
Good question.
Go ahead, Eric.
You know, most attorneys in this practice area are literally at the point right now where they can't take more clients. And let me explain why this is such a difficult practice area to get attorneys to engage in the practice. You have to practice under an attorney who knows what they're doing for about a year to really understand what's going on. I have a young associate who graduated from Wake Forest Law School last year, who fortunately worked with me for the last 3 or 4 years. She is at the point now I can turn her loose, because we sit there for 8 hours a day going through different scenarios of different issues that come up. And unless you're thinking outside the box, you're just not going to understand this. And attorneys don't want to spend the time to learn this practice area. So there are other attorneys. There's Jeff Zeelander in Philadelphia. There's the Shapiros out of Cleveland. There's Devidos Law Firm. There's Wayne Johnson in Orlando. There is Dan Goodkin in California. There are a couple of former claims examiners who engage in this practice area. Toby Rubenstein, Ed Daniels. There are other people who do this. But I'm telling you right now, just about everybody is fully engaged. Chris, I'll be dead if I don't say Christina Falero. Christina worked with me for a couple of years, and she went to Seattle and started her own practice. Thank God I talked her into doing that. She's doing very well. She is incredibly compassionate to injured workers. Not saying I'm not, but she's a young lady who is incredibly passionate about what she does. And the future of the practice area is bleak, because there's not many new attorneys coming on. Yeah. I'm trying to get as many as I can. And there's attorneys in this practice area who have specializations. I tend to do third-party cases. Dan Shapiro in Boston does schedule awards. Wayne Johnson in Florida does Social Security Disability and Merit System Protection Board cases. So everybody has a little bit of a different specialty. If somebody calls me with a unique issue, I'm going to tell them to go somewhere else if I don't feel comfortable or confident in what I'm doing. There's also an entirely separate practice area that's covered under the Office of Workers' Compensation Programs. That's Defense Space Act and Longshore cases. So government contractors who go overseas and get injured, which happens a lot, and longshore workers who work on the docks. That's all covered by the Department of Labor also. It's a different practice area, and there's attorneys that specialize just in that.
So I think you're really nice for giving the shout out to your competition. If someone asked me, Chris,
Not competition.
well, okay, for lack of better words, but if someone said, "Hey, Chris, are there any other doctors that you could recommend?" I'd say no. But you know what? There's probably not. That's the problem. There's so few doctors, just like lawyers, that do OWCP.
There are some. And you and I both know the most difficult thing to find right now are physicians who do good rating exams. They are even more rare than lawyers who do OWCP. We know a few. Depends on where you are in the country.
Yeah.
I hate to say this because I think that there are I know there's millions and millions of dollars that are being left on the table on scheduled awards right now.
Yeah.
I read these rating examinations that either district medical advisors or doctors who have no idea what they're doing are doing, and there's so much money being left, it's not even funny. So,
so speaking of scheduled awards, Dr. Cooper's on here from Forest Park, Georgia, and Phoenix City, Alabama, and he is trained now to do the 6th edition, and has already done. I don't know how many. He's already done some though, and also we've got a doctor in St. Pete, Florida, Fred Freed, who just recently finished his training on scheduled awards or 6th edition of Paramount Ratings. And we've got some others that do it as well. But I was talking to our newest guy in Salt Lake City today, and him and his office are in the process of training on OWCP. Okay. And today I sprung it on him. Actually, she did, that his nurse practitioner needs to go ahead and get trained on how to do 6th edition of Paramount Ratings. And he said, well, she's got a lot of free time. I'm going to make her get started doing that right now.
Yeah,
so
well,
some of them it just kind of makes sense and it clicks. And they say, okay, we have to learn how to do this, but very few of them do it.
Yeah.
Well, there's a reason. It's difficult.
Yeah.
First, second of all, there's talk of doing away with the 6th edition right now. So nobody wants to go out and get this training and expertise if it's going to change tomorrow, and there is talk about it. So, I would think hold off for 6 months or so before you really train up a whole lot of people to see if they do change it on you. It's possible. The director of OWCP.
Well, if they change it on us, we'll just all have to go back to and start and learn something new. That's the way it goes.
Yeah, I know. It's complex and it's difficult. And these rating exams, especially when you get into the more difficult cases of CRPS or multiple ratings on a particular body member and the combining of these things get very, very difficult. Range of motion ratings as opposed to DBI ratings.
Yeah.
They get complex quickly.
Right. Let's see.
Belinda Peterson said, "You're not going to drop the ones you're already working with for you."
Tell Belinda not to worry.
No, all existing clients are doing fine.
That's
right.
I have, excuse me, Jeannie. I have commitments to people. That's why I'm trying to avoid taking on a whole lot more people. I've got commitments, and I'm going to certainly live up to every commitment I've made.
Sure.
Jerry Gatewood said, "Honest and brilliant attorney."
Hey,
Are you talking about Eric?
Thank you, Jerry.
Portal Maria said, Maria Portal. Thank goodness for federal injury centers.
Oh, thanks.
Let's see. Alice Hernandez says, Eric was so honest with us about our case, which was greatly approved. Deborah Gullidge said, is disc pressing on the sciatic nerve considered for a schedule award?
Good question. The back, spine, brain, heart, a couple other body parts are not scheduled body members. If it impacts a limb, a scheduled body member, a leg, an arm, something like that, then radiculopathy as a diagnosed condition can result in a rateable condition, not for the back, but for the limb.
Yeah.
Generally speaking, you need an EMG or an what's EMG stand for, Jeannie? I know NCVS, nerve conduction velocity study, to demonstrate what that rating, what the actual impairment is. Do you know it, Jeannie?
He said it. I said thanks, Jeannie.
I'm pretty sure it's electromyogram, but I don't know. Dr. Cooper's on here; he'll tell us.
So if you have those, if you have a study that is indicative of an abnormal study, then yes, you can possibly get a rating for that. They're generally low, and they rate each nerve individually in the extremity. You can combine those depending upon what nerves you're talking about. Again, even doctors that do rating exams regularly don't know how to do a proper radiculopathy rating, in my experience.
Right.
And Chris, I mean, what do you think?
No, I think that's exactly right. I mean, this thing is just, it's so complicated that, the patients, the injured employees, they're having a really hard time. Now, the complication of the system is why it's so hard to get doctors to join. Everything in this thing is complicated. It's
not only the complication of the process and the system, but the low pay the OWCP offers for a rating exam. I can tell you right now, I wouldn't do it. For the amount of money OWCP pays, if I were a physician, I would not do a rating exam. I don't know how you get people to do it. Thank God you do. But I find generally that people in North Carolina, where I am, and in New York, I've seen this a ton of times, these doctors look at the person and say, I'm going to give you a 20% rating. That's it. That is the rating exam. It doesn't fly anywhere.
No.
The DMA, district medical advisor, immediately dismisses the rating exam, and you have to start anew.
Well, we only accept payment from OWCP because we don't take money from patients ever. But we would do them for free if we had to.
Yep.
They're needed. So on this same topic of schedule awards, SE Hall asked, and I think it's a good transition, or this will add on to this. My claim was filed in 2019, still open. How do I receive a schedule award? So you answered some of that just then. It's got to be a body part that's rateable on the chart, right? But I like to say these two things, and I'm going to turn it over to you. But there are two things that are critically important about getting a schedule award. One, your claim has to be accepted. Almost nobody's claims are accepted, okay? So number one, it has to be accepted. Number two, the diagnosis has to be one that would be rateable. Like that radiculopathy, you'd have to have a diagnosis expansion if it wasn't already there. So you have that diagnosis code. And if it's not there, you're never getting that rating. So what else would you add? Besides
Chris,
still being alive.
There's multiple problems when it comes to rating exams. And we, the attorneys in this practice area, have what's called a listserv. We were debating this just yesterday on the proper pay rate that people are entitled to, maximum medical improvement. People don't understand you need to be at a stable, fixed point in your recovery to be eligible for a schedule award. It's generally 1 year post-surgery. The other thing that I always ask, most attorneys don't ask, is if you come to me and say, hey, I've had a fractured foot that required surgery, I want to know what's wrong with the rest of your leg. How's your knee? How's your hip? Your entire body member is rated as a whole. So and I actually had this with one client who was blown up over in Iraq as a military member and then had a meniscal tear. Well, his IED, improvised explosive device that blew him up, resulted in a significantly higher impairment rating for that limb when we went to get the rating. But the pay rate is extremely important. You can have a doctor who does a perfect rating exam, a doctor who identifies everything that's rateable in the body member. You're at maximum medical improvement. They give you a 20% impairment rating. Well, if you don't have an experienced practitioner who understands what the proper pay rate that you're entitled to is, you may be leaving $50,000, $60,000, $70,000, $80,000 on the table, because I can tell you right now, claims examiners do not know how to properly determine pay rates. The only thing they look at is called DOI, date of injury. Well, DOI is not necessarily the proper pay rate. If you return to work full duty, if you return to work limited duty, if you wait a while to get your schedule award, if you're receiving OWCP, you're not entitled to the schedule award right now unless it's a different case file. There's so many little things that come into play that most people don't take into account, consider, or examine. I mean, they accept the fact that the claims examiner knows what they're doing. Don't ever, ever, ever do that.
No. There's regular people too. And they're not doctors.
They are. But they don't know. It's not a matter of any malicious intent. They just don't know that if the person returns to work full duty and they have 5-step increases in the next 2 or 3 years, and then they go for the schedule award, I've seen it time and time again where they look back at what was your date of injury pay rate. That's not the proper pay rate. If you're exposed to continuing factors that created the condition that resulted in the rating, you're entitled to the higher pay rate.
So we have a question here. It's long, so hang in there. But I think I read a little bit of it, so I think it's an important one for us to go over.
It's from Barbara Bush.
Out of Texas.
I know. She said, I have CA7s that were from 2011 to 2014 that I sent numerous times to my claims adjuster for a case that has been accepted and I've never been paid. I now finally getting someone to listen to me and they told me to send them in, which I did. And now I have a new claims adjuster who is picking at everything, saying that my injury includes only my right knee when actually I fell and hit both knees. And I've been seeing the same orthopedic doctor since 2011. And he stated in his medical reports that it's both knees that have been injured. And now the claim adjuster is telling me that he will not pay for any of the CA7s because the other name is not directly listed as an injury.
Let's go ahead and start right there.
Okay.
So, Eric, what this is, I think, all about is when the doctor wrote the initial narrative to get the case accepted, they only accepted one knee and just left it at that, right? So, but the person's still out of work because of at least that one knee, right? Shouldn't they be paying? You see what I'm saying?
I'm going to tell you what I tell everybody. I can't give an answer. I'd have to review the entire case file. Little factors make a world of difference. And, I get in these case files regularly that are 1,000 pages. And one page changes everything. I'm at 674 in the case file. I'm like, oh, geez, that just changed everything. We tend to think that just because we're out of work, a doctor's written us out of work, after an injury, we're entitled to pay. That's not necessarily true. The physician has to relate the medical diagnosis that's precluding you from work to the work injury or the diagnosed condition or the accepted condition. So I see what you're saying, that the person hurt both knees. So I go right to the CA1. What did it say in the CA1? And hope, right. Please be over-inclusive in your CA1s. I fell and hit my foot, ankle, knee, hip, rib cage, shoulder, arm, side of my right head. Put it all down.
Thorough. Yeah.
Be thorough. It's going to protect you later on. And I find that claims examiners tend to take the path of least resistance because they have so many cases. So they'll accept it for a sprain strain of the knee. When you've listed everything else, well, maybe the physician didn't go into enough detail. Maybe you didn't ask to have your claim properly expanded. There's right. A lot of things that I would look at in that case. And you've got to understand, just because you identify what the issue is doesn't mean you're going to get it corrected unless you stay on top of that claims examiner. I have ticklers set that 30 days, okay, I've not heard from the claims examiner on a requested expansion. I'll go right back in, take the same letter I wrote 30 days ago requesting the expansion, put a new date on it and say, where's my response for my letter 30 days ago? And I hate to say it, I'm almost trying to embarrass the claims examiner to do their job. I've resulted to something that no one else does. When I call a claims examiner, and I am unsuccessful in talking with that claims examiner, I do immediately what I call an attorney note, which I will upload to the case file. So I have put in a written record in the case file that I made a phone call to the claims examiner and was able to contact them, and I expect a return call in 48 hours. Because if you just call and leave a message, there's no record of that put in your case file anywhere. Make a record, put it in your case file, so you can say, I called on June 15th, June 17th, June 19th, June 20th, and no one's returned my calls. Can I please speak with a supervisor? Then get a supervisor on the phone and say, I've called all these times. Claims examiner's not returning my call. I need somebody to look this case over besides a claims examiner. So there's ways to protect yourself. I find that's a very good one. Put something in the case file every time you make a request, so there's documentation that the request is not being addressed.
And you put it in the case file by e-comping it.
E-comping it, yep. I do it every time now. And I
write a letter saying,
I say, I'm not trying to embarrass a claims examiner. I'm trying to make a record of the fact that I called, and I'm also trying to make a record of why I called. So when the claims examiner calls me back, and I've made 10 calls to claims examiners, I know exactly why I called and I want answers to these questions, but it also gives the claims examiner an opportunity to research the question I have and give me an answer. So if I'm calling to say, why hasn't the post office not given the proper pay rate to get my client paid, the claims examiner usually looks into it before they return the call. So you're making the communication more effective by telling them what you're calling for and what answer you're looking for.
That's a good one. I've never told people to do that before.
Yeah, that's what I'm doing now, and it's working pretty good.
That's brilliant.
All right. Tammy Wilkes says, took me 1.5 years to get approved for injuries. I don't know what that meant. Still issue 4 surgeries later. FCE just done and came back to light duty. Now my treating doctor doesn't know what to do with the MMI or 6th edition is. Oh boy.
That's the way that goes.
All the time. They hear that
All the
5
time.
times.
You can Google it. I mean, I always tell people to go to Google because Google knows a lot of people. And, you could search 6th edition impairment rating doctor, but good luck.
My first question to her is, where does she live? That's my first question. And I know there's doctors out there that are not associated with Federal Injury Center that can do rating exams. I know sometimes you have to pay $1,500 to them to do a good rating exam. But when you're looking at getting $100,000 in schedule award, $1,500 is certainly worth it.
Yeah, it's nice.
Yeah, it's some of these scheduled awards are huge. The most we've ever gotten for one person on a scheduled award is over $500,000. And I've seen them as low as, a couple $1,000s, but they're generally worth your time and effort to move forward on a scheduled award. But please find somebody that knows what they're doing or an attorney who knows how to review it. Otherwise, you're leaving money on the table. I'm telling you.
If your doctor uses the 5th edition, you're going to get 0.
No, you're not getting anything.
Ms. Harp, you asked if our federal injury offices handles COVID. Yes, we do. Just go to our website at federalinjurycenters.com, click locations, and you'll find all of our doctors there.
Yeah, they're all trained to get COVID claims approved.
Sonia Summer says, what's the difference between modified assignment offer and reasonable accommodations?
Well, reasonable accommodations include modified offers.
They do. But reasonable accommodation is not necessarily OWCP related. There are 430 federal agencies. I think I say this every time I come on one of your chats.
Yeah.
There are 430 federal agencies. There's only one agency that makes a distinction between a limited duty job offer and a light duty job offer. That is the U.S. Postal Service. A light duty job offer is a job offer the post office offers to you before your claim is accepted. Once your claim's accepted, then it becomes a limited duty job offer. The law says before you accept a job offer, take that job offer to your physician. Don't let your supervisor browbeat you into signing the job offer, calling you into the office and having you sign a job offer. Don't let them do that.
Yeah. Okay, before we ask the next question, I like to do this, Eric. Sometimes some of my doctors come on and want to say hi. Mm-hmm. And so today, I already said Dr. Cooper was on, but our office in Manhattan, New York is on. And Dr. Shockey and Dr. Bart. Kim. Okay, good. So Kim's working in the practice. She's Dr. Bart's wife. So they're on here to find out what everyone's saying, what people think, what your issues are. So they're better at helping you. So everyone say hi to Dr. Bart, Dr. Shockey, and Kim.
We have Dr. Kammerer too.
Oh, Dr. Kammerer is in Pinellas Park, Florida. He's like a prodigy for work comp. If you get a chance to go to Dr. K, your claim's getting accepted.
I would ask everybody to call Federal Injury Centers in New York City tomorrow and have them do rating exams.
Yeah, no doubt. I know. Hey, I've been telling Dr. Shockey to get trained. So Dr. Shockey, you heard it from me and Eric.
Well, Kim is on. So Kim.
There's no one in the Northeast. There's one physician in New Jersey who does charge $1,500 an exam. But God Almighty, there's nobody in upstate New York, and New England it doesn't have anybody. So please get going on the schedule on the rating exams.
Okay. Eric, Paul Wedge said, are you familiar with dual status federal jobs?
That's a new one on me. No.
Yeah, me too. So we're both a no on that one. We'll have to look it up.
Dual status federal jobs.
But
hey, is there a specific question about it? Because maybe the question will.
Get us. I have heard of people that are yes. I have one person who's a dual status federal job. He is a National Guard troop who was nationalized to go overseas. At the same time, he had a civilian position with the federal government. So I consider that dual status. So you're talking about different benefits there, though, military benefits and civilian benefits. Right. And he did get hurt, of course.
Yeah.
Diane Green said, Chris and Jeannie, will you make it clear people can go to to an injury center outside of where you live? You guys told me I could go anywhere, and there's no federal injury centers near me. But if I can get to you, y'all will help. Am I correct?
That's exactly right.
Yes.
You can go out of state. People do it all the time. Not a problem. It doesn't mean that you're going to get paid for your transportation.
That's right. Yeah, let me hit the flip side. Some claims examiners will give you a hard time about that. We know who those claims examiners are. You do have the right to choose your physician, but I've heard claims examiners actually tell people they're not going to, in any way, shape, or form, pay for it. So you got to fight OWCP to even pay to get the care taken care of. But Chris and Jeannie are right. They're going to limit you to 100 miles round trip on your reimbursement for travel to your doc, to your physician. And y'all know the other issue with that. Going back and forth for physical therapy can be challenging, but you get in some of these areas in South Carolina, North Carolina, Georgia, Tennessee, there's no one that will take federal workers' compensation, so you don't have a choice. It's pitiful. I don't know if you know this, Chris and Jeannie, there was a bill pending before Congress to have PAs and nurse practitioners.
you told me about
You
this.
mentioned that to us, yeah.
Opposition came up to the bill by the American Medical Association, physicians, who were opposed to having anybody else treat. Although I don't think that the entity of AMA knows how few physicians will actually treat. It's just their knee-jerk reaction. So I think it got pigeonholed in Congress. I don't think it's moving forward.
Great.
Ms. Hall, we have 3 locations in the Chicago area. Just go to our website at federalinjurycenters.com, click locations, and you can see all the website locations there. Brenda Smith says, how about a boss who says to workers' comp, I'm making my injuries up, even though I have documented evidence from the start. I was on the list for surgery. Now I'm not. What else can I do? I have not had any written notice from DOL so far. Postmaster wrote a letter on June 2nd. What are my options?
I'm going to take this one. This is what I like to remind everyone. It's the repeat after me. I don't care what my supervisor says or thinks, because it doesn't really matter what they think. In the end, what the doctor writes in a narrative is going to carry most of the weight, if not all of it. Supervisors don't have medical licenses. They don't have, they don't have an opinion that counts as far as saying that you are or aren't hurt or that it was work related or not. They can suppose whatever they want and put whatever they want on the CA1s. But when the doctor writes their narrative, that's what they're going to go by. And
understand the agency does have the right to controvert or challenge a claim. Well, they can controvert COP. They can challenge a claim.
Yeah.
Don't get upset when they do that. A lot of times I find that there's personal animosities among people who work together. It may not have anything to do with the injury. It's just a personal animosity they have toward a worker. But I can't think of one case that I've lost that's been controverted or challenged.
Right.
Maybe some issues with COP that the person didn't get the CA1 filed within the first 30 days. But I knew we were going to lose those anyway. So don't get upset by that. And remember, please, any information you give to OWCP is evidence they have to consider. So I have a lot of my clients do what are called signed sworn statements, where they'll write out exactly what happened, swear to it at the bottom, and submit that to the case file via eComp.
Okay. Tammy Morris said, just had rotator cuff surgery and now doing part-time to be able to go back to work.
Or PT.
Do I file for a schedule award?
No.
Yeah, you gotta be, so the doctor's got to place you at maximum medical improvement before anything else. So you got to be as good as you're ever going to get on a case that's accepted with a diagnosis that is rateable.
Yeah, and generally, it's just a rotator cuff is about 3%. I can tell you what the rating is going to be. If you have a bicep tendons tear or a glenoid labrum tear with a rotator cuff tear, you're going to be about 12%. Some rating exams for like carpal tunnel syndrome are 1% per arm. They're generally don't waste your money going out there to get those done. But rotator cuff is a horrible surgery. I would not want to have a rotator cuff problem, and I feel horrible for anybody that's got it, especially people that have to return back to work.
Yeah.
Hopefully they'll give you a limited duty job, or you got to consider OPM disability retirement if you're a regular career employee who has at least 18 months on the job.
Tim Pearson, you asked. Okay, Tim, you can call, and this goes for everybody. You guys can call any of the offices and they will be able to answer your question. If you call them and they don't answer your question or can't answer it, then message me on our chats, okay?
And you can get to any of the offices by going to the locations tab at federalinjurycenters.com and just scrolling to the state and city that you're looking for.
Yeah. Kat Blake says, how do I find out how medical retirement works? Can you file for a schedule award if you've gone back to work for 6 years, but now being told my specialist outside of OWCP, I need to seriously consider disability?
Yes, you can file for a schedule award at any point in time, so long as you're still exchanging oxygen with the rest of the world. So long as you're still alive, you can apply for a schedule. What was the second question, Jeannie, about OPM disability retirement? Yeah, OPM disability retirement. I'm going to give you the generality. The general rule is if you have a impairment that's going to last more than 12 months and your job cannot permanently accommodate that impairment, you're going to probably be eligible for OPM disability retirement. We find it a lot, especially with rotator cuff tears for older women. I hate to say it. And I mean, younger than me, but older women, over 40 or 45, they generally have a hard time, even if they're in great physical condition, delivering these packages. They're getting heavier and heavier every day.
Yeah.
And if you can't do it, if you got an impairment that limits you to 30 pounds for the rest of your life, please consider OPM disability retirement. You get to keep at least the first 12 months, 60% of your salary, then 40% every year until you're 62, and you keep your medical benefits. That's the most important thing. Plus, you can go out and get another job and still get paid by the federal government, at least something.
Right.
Melanie Ramney said, how do you go about getting a schedule award for an injury that never fully healed from 2017?
Depends on what the injury is, but an injury that never heals actually increases the potential recovery on a schedule award. If you have a bad result, that's right in it just about every table in the 6th edition. If it's a rotator cuff tear with a bad result, surgery bad result, that increases the grade modifiers. So you're going to get an increased schedule award. But the issue becomes what Chris was talking about. Are you at maximum medical improvement, which is a fixed and stable state for the medical condition you have? And I just read a very detailed rating examination this morning where the physician who did the rating exam deferred to the surgeon on whether the person was an MMI or not. It's a useless rating exam. The doctor who's doing the rating exam has to say that the person's an MMI.
Weak medical opinion statements will kill a claim. Yeah.
Well, it kills a claim, but it also makes a claims examiner's day because they're denying a claim, and they love that.
Yeah.
Francis Locke said, maybe you can answer this. My post office did not have a job to offer me due to my restrictions, yet I still have not been paid over the 45-day period. My injury was over a year ago. What can I do?
Okay, so if you had a CA1 claim that was filed within 30 days and you didn't get continuation of pay, but you checked continuation of pay in box 15, then you got to look back and see, did your supervisor controvert pay? Because it's the last question on the second page. If you intend to controvert continuation of pay, state your reason why here. Well, most people don't read their CA1s, and so they don't know that that's coming. If you didn't file within 30 days, you're not eligible for continuation of pay. But if all that worked out and the supervisor didn't controvert, you did elect it, you did report within 30 days, you should file a grievance. And Eric, what else would you suggest that they do to go and get their COP?
You've got to go to the union. But you and I hear the same thing every day. I'm in an area where there's a weak union.
Yeah.
Chris, you've got good contacts with Chris and Jeannie, you guys got good contacts with the unions. You're going to tell them who to contact if they contact you. And, the union's the first place to start. Even if the supervisor controverts the COP, that's not the end of the equation. That's just that's just their allegation of why you shouldn't get COP. I see these cases all the time, and they're so unfortunate because it's so much money to the injured worker, but the post office could care less. If they pay you wrong, they're going to hit you with a debt. You've got to fight these things. You got to know how to fight these things, and it's not easy.
No.
Federal Injury Centers is good about helping people with that because I can't help everybody. But in that particular instance, I would want to know. It sounds like the person was paid after 45 days. Is that the impression you got, Jeannie? That they were paid after 45 days? It was the first 45 days COP that's at issue?
Right.
Yeah. Again, start with the union. The union people should be helping you with that.
All right. Ahmed said, I broke my tooth in an accident. The lawyer told me that I would get an award after finishing my work on my teeth. After I'm finished now, I can't get a dental award according to the law. And he was wrong when he told me about this. Is that true?
Yeah, I don't. I've looked at that before. Teeth are not a braided body member. It's not a rateable body member. Right. Neither scarring on the face, which is, well, I think maybe it is for women in some instances, but yeah, it's amazing what's not covered by these by the schedule of the schedule award. I get calls all the time. Somebody's got a horrible condition, and I can't believe it's not rated. And I'll tell you what I've heard. Spinal conditions should be rated. Everybody agrees they should be rated. They're extremely debilitating. The problem is determining ratings for a back injury. There's no consensus on what a rating should be for a lumbar problem versus a cervical problem versus a thoracic problem. So because they can't come to a consensus, they're just not rating them.
Huh. I thought it was just because they'd have to pay out too much money.
Well, that is the reason, but there's no conformity in how they'd have to pay it out. I think that's their concern.
Yeah.
Tammy said, I need Eric's help for a schedule award. Tammy, go ahead and message us after the live, and I'll get you over to Eric tomorrow. Mary Hoyt said, if IBS does not qualify for OWCP, can an application be filed for Social Security disability?
Well, yes.
Certainly can be.
Yeah. Well, if you're going to apply for OPM disability retirement, you must apply for Social Security disability. My experience is Social Security disability is very difficult to obtain. IBS, I've never heard anybody try to file a claim for IBS. That's a new one on me.
You have to know the story behind it. How did it happen? Because it's not necessarily automatic that it couldn't get approved.
Well, I could see an instance where it was. If a federal worker was in a travel status and ate something that caused it, then it could potentially be compensable.
Exactly.
So there are instances where it could be. I'd have to hear more about that case. That's an interesting one.
Yeah, and just one more thing on this. So yeah, you have to apply for Social Security. You don't have to win it, but you do have to apply for federal disability.
That's correct.
And the other thing about federal disability that a lot of people don't understand, especially since we're doing an OWCP talk, is that it doesn't have to be work injury related to get federal disability. It just anything that happens that disables you from your job during the course of
I've got a lot of people right now who have cancer who I'm getting approved for OPM.
Right, yeah, which probably isn't work related.
And Social Security disability. Social Security disability is almost approved automatically for somebody with a severe form of cancer. Yeah. Let me say one more thing about Social Security disability. Be very, very, very careful. If you are on OWCP and you're under the age of 65, you got to be very careful with acquisition of Social Security disability because there's something called an offset. Instead of Social Security paying you all the money you're entitled to, it may be offset because you're receiving OWCP compensation. The problem with that is they're not going to pay you the money, but they're going to impute the money to you. So at the end of the year, you get a tax bill from the Social Security saying you were paid $20,000 this year, or you should have been paid $20,000 this year, but instead you were paid OWCP, which is tax-free. So now you're paying taxes on money that you received that was tax-free. You got to be very, very careful with that instance. Be careful with Social Security disability.
Yeah. Stacy Giddens said, what is a rating exam? Is that an FCE? So if you can explain the process.
For the FCE, it's a functional capacity evaluation. And in my opinion, that's a cop-out for physicians. If physicians what physicians are doing, in my opinion, when they're ordering an FCE is they're passing the buck. They don't want to say what the person's medical restrictions should be or are. A rating examination is something totally different. It's a determination of what your permanent impairment is under the law.
Two different things.
Right. Tammy Newman said, so Scott's TBI would not be rated, but the rest of his problems, you would know that. Eric
well, maybe. So I do have a question for Eric related to this. So what Tammy's saying, we know Tammy and Scott, Eric. And so Scott had a stroke as a result of a head injury on the job. Of course, OWCP is saying that the head injury is a result of the stroke and not the other way around, although he was a perfectly healthy young man. But still, there we are. So let's say we get that case accepted, which I still believe we will. Is the head injury, the TBI, will that be rateable?
TBI is not rateable. Brain's not rateable.
But any conditions in his limbs that result from it could be.
Yes. If you can get the physician, it's a consequential, Chris. So you're going to get the consequential accepted. But then you could have ratings, yes.
Yeah. So once we get the TBI accepted, which I'm confident we will, then we'll do consequentials.
TBIs are horrible. I see them all the time. Fortunately, I see them in the area of third-party liability, so you can recover something for them. But from a rating perspective, I hate to say I'm scamming the system, but I'm always looking for ways to ensure that the person who's coming to us is going to get the most money they can possibly get, whether that's from OWCP compensation, OPM disability retirement, a third-party case, how much money they can recover based upon the formula that OWCP and the Solicitor General's office applies. I'm looking for the most benefit I can get for a client. That's my goal in every case I take. So TBIs are frustrating because they're horrific injuries. But there's basically nothing that you can get from a scheduled award perspective for them.
Yep. So we're going into the second hour. So those of you that are hopping on, this is hour number 2. We have the famous federal Eric Flowers that everybody loves. I get all the messages from all the women, Eric. Don't worry.
Yeah. Okay.
So Samara Marie said, I have permanent neck injury. I have 2 spinal fusions. I have chronic pain and headaches. For the rest of my life, I'll have to deal with this. Yet I cannot get a scheduled award for it. Why?
Because the spine is not a rated body member, and neither is the brain. Neither is a rated body member under the federal statute that has a schedule in it. They don't rate those things. Oftentimes in those cases, though, Chris and Jeannie, you're going to know this, you see ridiculous symptoms in the up, depending upon where on the spine it is, either in the arms or the legs. So there's a possibility to get a small rating. Hopefully that person is on OWCP compensation. I get this question all the time. How long can I stay on OWCP? You can stay on OWCP so long as you're still disabled.
Yeah.
We all know that OWCP employs the worst second opinion physicians in the world. I can tell you pretty much who every one of them is. And I'm at the point now, I look forward to these horrible physicians seeing my clients, because I can blow them out of the water. I know their fallacies. I know where they screw the cases up. And fortunately, OWCP is not able to educate them on what they're doing wrong. They just have to send it out for a second opinion. But they're horrible. Stay in OWCP as long as you can, so long as you have a disability. But at the same time, if you can go back to work, go back to work. I mean, I've been there where you sit at home for a year with nothing to do. It's horrible. You've got, especially men, we got to have a purpose in life. We want to get up and go do something. Women, especially, if they're raising a family, they're used to working. Go back to work if you can.
Yeah.
Paul Landgraf said, thanks, Eric. I called you and you told me my accepted claim gave me more rights than I knew I even had. If I choose to decline the rotator cuff surgery and schedule my retirement, do I qualify for a schedule award? Doctor says it's risky due to age
And comorbidity.
and comorbidity.
I hear that every day.
Yeah.
I mean, especially with spinal surgeries, people don't want spinal surgeries. I don't blame them. Talked to a guy today whether or not he wants an ankle replacement. Ankle replacements, I'm not a doctor. I think it's a relatively new procedure in the last few years. People are skeptical of those things. So yes, you can get a schedule award without getting surgery. OWCP, please hear me, cannot make you get surgery. That is an individual choice and decision you make. The fact that you don't get surgery is going to probably result in a much higher rating examination, because in my experience, that's going to be a ROM rating, a range of motion, which is going to be severely restricted because of the lack of the repair of the rotator cuff problem. Comorbidities, that rings a bell to me. What other comorbidities do you have? Do you have any other injuries on that arm? There's every case is different, and I about shoot myself when I miss something. I hate missing something. So a full, especially for your physicians, and you, Chris and Jenny, and your physicians know this, a good patient history is key. It truly is.
So let me read her. So Sonia Summers said that a NAPFE member, which NAPFE is a new union I just learned about recently when we were in Atlanta, but wants to start her physical therapy treatments at one of our facilities. Basically wants to know, they don't want to change their treating doctor. Can they still get therapy at our office? Yeah, just get a referral. Doctors work off referrals all the time, and referrals in OWCP are honored. So just have your doctor make a referral to the doctor you want to go to. It's no problem.
Chris, is there a problem with their physician sending the patient to your facility for physical therapy?
No. And that's what I was saying. The rule in OWCP actually says that all referrals shall be honored. So any doctor can make a referral to any other doctor.
Okay.
Unless the treatment's not medically necessary, but then we got a whole other problem.
All right. BK Harvey said, what about a bone scan that shows shoulder injury and hip that exacerbated back disc issues? Neurosurgeon says surgery needed, but bones are too small. Having aquatic therapy, high tech and pool with treadmill that lowers you into the water.
Those are so cool.
Can a schedule award be looked into? Had to retire using a cane and mostly homebound.
Yes, right. I mean, it's a rateable body part of the shoulder, and I forget what else.
What I'm looking for at that, as soon as I heard what she's talking about, I'm looking at decreased interval joint measurements in both the shoulder and the hip and every other joint in the body, depending upon what the accepted conditions are for. That can be a very big or a very small rating exam schedule award. But yeah, again, you got to learn more about the case, and there's certainly potential there for a big schedule award.
You're going to type something in there.
And here?
Yeah. To Eric Flowers.
Uh-huh.
Eric, can you give everyone the office phone number that you want to call?
Our office phone number is 704-607-8870.
So you guys know Eric is not in another state. He is in North Carolina, and that's okay that he's in North Carolina. So
Now,
those of you that are asking.
Now let's go ahead and get your cell number so people can call you at 3 a.m.
I don't have a cell.
All right, I just pinned Eric's number at the bottom, so you guys can go ahead and blow his office up tomorrow.
Hey, Rich Ray's here. I want to say special thank you to Rich Ray. Rich is a NALC president in Staten Island. He and I have become very, very good friends, and he's a great resource for me. You know, like Eric, when I get stumped, I'm coming to Eric, right? Well, when there's union issues, Rich is perfect. So I just want to say hi to Rich.
Yeah. Good union people are invaluable. They're better than me. They know the system. They know the ELM. They know the policy and procedure. And more importantly than what the rules are is how to get things done.
Yeah.
I know the rules, but it takes a lot more experience to get things done. That's where the union officials help so much.
Absolutely.
Tammy Smith said, had anyone gotten a schedule award for COVID-induced pulmonary fibrosis scarring of the lungs?
Yes.
Decreased
lungs are rateable body members. What the heck's the pulmonary function test that determines your lung deprivation capacity deprivation? So yes, you can.
Gosh, it sounds like there could be potentially be a lot of COVID-related schedule awards. And nobody talks about that. I know, because I'm the one that does all the talking.
Yeah, not many people are pursuing them. They're just glad to be over COVID. I would get to a pulmonologist now before you start pursuing a schedule award, because this is going to be based entirely upon a diagnostic test. Yeah. Ask your pulmonologist, do I have decreased lung capacity, and can you attribute that to the COVID? You know, I'm trying to think about that. If the COVID is accepted condition, you have decreased lung capacity, I'm not sure you have to make the necessary causal relationship to the deprivation being caused by the COVID. I think you could probably get a schedule award without it.
I don't know. I mean, we're in uncharted territory.
I know the answer. Nobody's come to me with those yet. So
that's right. This is all new. It's new to everyone.
Mike Porto said, is an accepted primary osteoarthritis of both hands and both wrists only part of the same arm? I need surgery on my ulnar bone. Part of the ulnar bone is being removed. Is arm accepted under wrist, or does my doctor need to expand?
No, you're going to get two arms on that one. That's an interesting question, because I'm not sure if decreased interval joint measurement spacing in a wrist, ask Dr. Cooper, is a rateable condition.
Yeah, he's on here.
Cooper to weigh in on that one. I don't know if it's ask him. I don't know off the top of my
head. Mary Swan says, how do you ask for your claim to get expanded?
Well, that's a doctor issue. You know, the doctor knows what your accepted conditions are, and then they've got to write a diagnosis expansion report to add other relevant conditions that are related to that. So, and not all of them are expanded or need expansion. Maybe it's a new claim, but you need to speak with your doctor and make sure
Well,
it's related to the same injury.
Let me interject. A lot of times doctors do exactly what doctors are supposed to do. But I literally have one request for a claim expansion from 2019 that has still not been ruled upon. These claims examiners do not have a metric by which they are judged for claim expansions. So these things tend to sit around forever. Again, stay in your claim, call once a month, and then put something in the case file. I called today to ask what the status of my claim expansion is. No one's returning my call. Document, document, document. That's what you got to do.
That's such great advice.
Carolyn Webb said, what paperwork do I need to fill out for a consequential claim? Had rotator cuff surgery on the right shoulder. My left shoulder now has a tear due to overusing it. My doctor has already stated that in a report. What do I need to do?
You know, my gut feeling is that, okay, that's consequential, but it could also be a brand new CA2. I mean, it's another injury that happened to another body part.
It is, but that's consequential all day long.
I mean, of course it's consequential, but gosh, you could probably go two ways, but consequential is probably
in order to file it as a CA2, you're going to have exposure to work activities with the physician making causal nexus to the diagnosis. If the doctor's saying it's a result of overuse from the original one, it's definitely consequential. Don't start a new claim because it's a new file number, and you're going to have referral back between the two files all the time. Keep it within one file.
Okay.
Yes, so we have Dr. Brian Roywood, who is in San Antonio, Texas. He just said, I'm close to finishing my 6th edition training.
So if you're in San Antonio, Texas, he's one of our franchisees. He's relatively new compared to a lot of them, but we're really happy to have him. And San Antonio is such an important area because there's a bases down there. I think the 3rd largest VA in the country. Lots of obviously postal employees. There's so many people that need help. So Dr. Woodwood's there. You can find his San Antonio office listed in our location tab, but he's finishing up his 6th edition training. So that's really great news. Thanks for doing that, Doc.
What does he say about the interval joint space measurement for the wrist?
Well, he didn't say anything about it, but
there's a ton of doctors on here. Answer the question.
Come on, there's got to be one doctor that's going to give us some doctor advice.
Melissa Campbell said, could lumbar spinal stenosis be considered for a schedule award?
Possibly if it's ridiculous symptoms. Yes.
It's got to cause symptoms into the legs or arms, whatever. And then you have to get those diagnoses expanded and added.
Yes. I'm looking at my 6th edition right now, and I don't see that listed out initially, but there are some things that it might fall under. So I'd really like to hear from a physician and whether or not that's an expandable, if that's a rateable condition for interval joint space measurement deprivation in the wrist. I don't know.
All right. So Lori Davis says, I received my diagnosis expansion from Dr. Suma, who's working on getting an authorization for her to see pain management or an orthopedic. How long does it normally take? Do you have anyone working with you, or can I go to a doctor that I know takes federal work comp?
So that's an interesting question. I'm going to take that one because Dr. Suma and Dr. Kammerer and Dr. Lee are in a group together, and they're the primary ones that are building this network of doctors. So I'm not going to tell you to be patient with them because you all know I don't have an ounce of patience in me either. But go back to Dr. Suma and tell him that, one of his doctors is in this network who wants to take these cases. I know there's somebody on board already. Just go back and tell him again, and we'll do the same thing.
Yeah. Tim Pearson said, I have lower spinal injury, which has required fusion surgery. My initial claim was denied. Was at my reconsideration.
As was my reconsideration
request. Case manager advised my doctor needed to write a letter advising the psychological effect.
The physiological effect.
Oh my gosh. Caused a new injury or aggravated a previous injury. My doctor has refused to write the letter. What do I do now?
Okay, I love this answer. So I call those doctors that refuse to write narratives coward doctors. You got to find one who's not one of them. So if your doctor refuses to write a report, you got to find another doctor because there's no way around that you need these narrative reports. I hope it's not one of mine that I just call a coward, by the way.
Yeah. Let me say something. This requirement to explain the physiological process by which a diagnosed condition is achieved is really a bunch of BS that OWC has been pulling lately. I shoot it right back at them because I have the physiological process for just about every condition in the world. I write the medical reports for the physicians, and I don't ask them to sign it. I ask them to review it and to consider it as part of their report and or adopt it as their report. So
Right.
I shoot it right back at OWCP. This physiological process goes both ways. If you go to a second opinion physician, he says there's nothing wrong with you, and he doesn't explain the physiological process by which your condition has healed, you can use that against them too. So don't be upset because they're using it, because it does. The train goes both ways in that track.
Yeah. Our narratives include that automatically most of the time, because
It's pretty simple, actually. It's
They're doing that all the time.
Sonia Summer says, next question. What was the meaning of reasonable accommodations related to postal services?
What was the meaning?
Yeah, of reasonable accommodations related to the postal service.
Well, under the FLMA, Family Medical Sick Leave Act, anybody, FMLA, anybody, Family Medical Leave Act, I think, yeah, anybody can ask for a reasonable accommodation. I think it's up to 12 weeks a year. Is that right? I don't do many reasonable accommodation requests because it's outside the scope of OWCP. But if you have a medical condition that's not related to work, you can ask for a reasonable accommodation. You can also ask for a reasonable accommodation for a work-related injury that's not accepted yet. We do see a lot of people asking for that, and it's usually granted pretty liberally. I do have to say the government does one thing right, and they do give people accommodations when they're truly not unable to work. And they don't, even the post office. I mean, the post office, your union people will tell you they can fire people who aren't coming to work, even if it's for an OWCP claim. They can fire you. It's not a EEOC violation. It's just not. But they're pretty good about keeping people on and giving you an opportunity to return to work, and or giving you an opportunity to at least retire medically. Don't get upset if your employer gives you a letter called a medical inability to perform letter. What that basically means is you're not going to meet the minimum physical requirements to do the job that you've been hired to do. People get very upset when these letters come in. That is a per se basis to get OPM disability retirement accepted. So don't get upset if you get that letter. Call us to get OPM started.
Yeah.
Christina and Diane Green. You can go to any federal injury centers that you want. And Christina, we have a doctor in South Bend, Indiana, so you don't need to go to another state. Keegan White said, I returned to work 3 weeks ago, light duty, still going through PT after surgery. How do I seek a schedule award because I have limited range of motion in left great toe? Thank you for your all's commitment to injured federal employees.
It's like, just like we said, you've got to be, you have to have your claim accepted, a diagnosis that qualifies. Then your doctor has to say you're at maximum medical improvement, and then you've got to get your 6th edition rating. And it's a medical decision. It's not your decision. So you got to just communicate with your doctor.
Fixed and stable are the two key words. Is your condition fixed and stable? If it is, then you're ready. And it doesn't have to be a year. I know some physicians who will say you're in a fixed and stable state, a few months after surgery. Or if you refuse to get surgery, you're at a fixed and stable state. You don't have to get the surgery.
Yeah.
Teresa, we're working on a doctor in St. Louis. So
we met
hold
one.
on.
We met
Please. Missouri is horrible. There's nobody in Missouri. So please,
we met a guy in Las
doctors.
Vegas, 2 of them in Las Vegas who are from St. Louis, and so we're really excited. We'll add them both if we can.
Yeah. Miss Rosa, you said, what about if OWCP is telling you to return to work or benefits will be cut, then have a consequential injury occur 3 years later?
I missed the question. I was reading another question. All right. So what about if OWCP is telling you to return to work or benefits will be cut, then have a consequential injury occur 3 years later? I mean,
that's a tough one.
That's a tough one, but I mean, you can have a consequential injury 3 years later, I guess.
You can.
But 3 years later, you might have a new injury too. I mean, that's kind of a doctor decision. I like to tell people, Eric, to go to your doctor and get to the bottom of how this thing happened before you decide what it is. Is it a new injury?
Right.
Is it a consequential? The doctor is going to know better than I would.
Sometimes I find some doctors don't recognize consequential injuries until you put a proposed report in front of their face. Like, that sounds reasonable. So it's not. They just don't think the way we do on how to get a claim expanded. That's not the way they're thinking. They're trying to treat someone. So don't get upset with the physicians for not understanding the process because it's a foreign process to them. It really
Some
is.
call Chris and get trained.
Yeah. They've got bigger problems dealing with insurance companies to get paid than trying to get trained in the new process. That's why there's so few physicians in the country that do this practice area. It's very difficult. They don't want to put up with the BS, and they don't want to try to fight to get paid by the federal government. Chris and Jeannie have perfected the system and how to write the reports and to get the physicians paid. Because if a physician's not getting paid, I wouldn't do the work either.
Yeah.
Those of you that are asking if we have a doctor in, just go to the website at federalinjurycenters.com, click locations, and you'll see all the locations. We have more coming, so keep checking.
Anybody that's just in training won't be listed there yet because I don't like you to go to doctors that are not trained. You can go to any doctor that's not trained. That's what you're doing already. So we wait to list them until they're trained.
April Smith said, does Eric help with OPM claims move faster?
Yeah, let me say something about that. That's a great question. The biggest, again, 80% of the people that we deal with are postal workers. The biggest problem with OPM is the Injury Compensation Office. If somebody from a union can please tell me how to get something done at the Injury Compensation Office, I'll pay $1 million, because that group of people is in Greensboro, North Carolina. They don't return calls. They don't answer their phone. They don't look at anything we send in. They hold paperwork. It's absolutely ridiculous. There's no accountability there whatsoever. I'll say that outright to anybody in the Postal Service who wants to listen. Nobody there does their job the way they're supposed to do it. The ones that do get inundated with so much work, they can't get stuff done. But we send so many OPM disability retirement applications up there, and on a daily basis, we're calling injury comp to try to get these things processed through. You just got to know how the process works. And for a federal agency, you have to understand OPM is the Office of Personnel Management. They manage every federal employee's retirement. That's what their job is. They are an independent federal agency. Don't try to retire right now and try to get paid next month. It's going to be 8 to 10 months before you even get paid on your retirement. That's how backed up they are. So OPM is backed up because of OPM being backed up and because of Injury Compensation Office. We can't help facilitate that. We know the process. And more importantly, we know how to appeal those cases if they're denied.
Hold on. So Dr. Cooper responded, I think, to that question. I'm going to read it to you. It says the real issue will be having the new condition approved after the bone is removed. It will be rateable, but the diagnosis post-surgery is not the pre-surgical diagnosis. And if an arthrodesis or a device fusing joint is implanted, that is huge and a larger rating.
Yeah. Well, again, you don't have to get it expanded because once you have anything accepted on that arm, the entire arm is going to be rateable. So expansion of the claim is not necessary for a rating exam. It may be required to get treatment approved, but for the rating in the schedule award itself, the entire arm is rated as a whole. So what I hear him saying, though, is a arthritis or osteoarthritis in that joint is not necessarily rateable. It depends upon what happens as a result of the surgery and or insertion. What do you say? Insertion of a bone?
It's called an arthrodesis, a device fusing joint.
Huh. Okay. That's a new one to me.
Yeah, me too.
Alice Hernandez said, if you have received a schedule award and the pay rate of the date was from the injury, did I understand Eric say that the pay rate could have been from the current as well as I was healing from my injury? Since the schedule award has been awarded already, is it too late to do anything about it?
Ooh, tough
How do
question.
they increase pay rates? I think is a good question to take from that. How do they get out of their pre-injury pay status?
Well, if they're back to work full duty, not in a limited duty capacity, if they're back to work in full duty in the same job that they were in at the time of the injury, then they're entitled to the higher pay rate for the schedule award.
How long do they have to be back to work?
60 days.
Okay. So be back to work, full duty for 60 days, and that
Correct.
You back up.
The higher pay rate applies.
Right.
That's a tough case because I'd have to see when the schedule award was issued. Generally you have 1 year to appeal a decision from the date of decision. However, if there's a clear error, you can exceed that 1 year. And I would argue that's a clear error. If they paid the wrong pay rate, everybody should know what the right pay rate is. So I'd argue clear error even from over that 1 year time period. But you got to remember, with a rating exam or a schedule award, if you have a worsening of the condition, you can always go back in and get an increased rating.
Christina said, I've been turned down by numerous lawyers because I work for the federal government.
Yeah.
Smart lawyers.
It's tough for them.
Very few attorneys will take federal OWCP once they realize what it is. I see attorneys all the time saying, "Oh yeah, it's a workers' comp case. I'll take it." And like, "Oh, federal government, I can't handle that. I don't do those." The ones that try to do it and have not done it before usually screw it up. Very few attorneys take it. Depends on where she is, what the issue is. I maybe would refer. There are good attorneys out there. Dan Goodkin, Wayne Johnson, Jeff Zelander, the Shapiros, Devidos. They know what they're doing. The problem is, you may not want to pay the amount of money that they want to charge, and I understand that.
Yeah.
Samara Marie said, one of my other issues, I have way too many. I had a shoulder surgery with approved work comp in 2009. For the most part, it's healed very well. I have some clicking, but pain is mostly gone and range of motion is good. Is there any point in filing a schedule award?
She had a shoulder surgery? Yeah. I mean, if she likes money, yeah, there's a point in filing a schedule
That's
award.
what he says.
Yeah.
Everyone knows what money is.
Deborah Schultz says, I was approved for occupational disease. The next step is surgery on both knees. I'm scheduled in 30 days. Is it common to be denied surgery? What happens if I am?
So I think it's common to be denied surgery because your doctor did a poor job diagnosing you. If your approved condition is sprain and you have an MRI that shows a tear is surgical, right? Potentially. A sprain is not, ever. And so if your approved condition is sprain, they're going to keep denying surgery over and over again because it's not a surgical condition. You got to get a diagnosis expansion. Most of the time, that's the problem.
And for that one comment by a viewer, I would say that person needs to call me tomorrow. Because if you get surgery, if you have bilateral osteoarthritis in your knees and you're looking at getting surgery on both knees, you may be looking at a double schedule award, getting the schedule award before surgery. So double the amount of the schedule award you're going to get, depending upon what the joint interval space measurement is. And if they've denied the surgery right now, you're in a good opportunity to get that extra money. So that's a factual case and a discussion of whether the person can hold out to get the schedule award before they get the surgery. That's how we got. That's how we get a lot of money.
A lot of our offices, a lot of the doctors have these really cool knee treatments. I'm a candidate for these treatments, so that's why I think I love them so much. But they put this sort of a gel-like substance into your knee, and it's almost like a shock absorber. It's not permanent. It doesn't last forever, but it can give you a little bit of time before you have to go in and get the surgery if you're not approved for surgery.
And I had that done and it didn't work.
Yeah,
so 100%. I've had a knee replacement, and it's I love the knee replacement, but I suffered for 2 or 3 years, and a lot of physicians, Chris and Ginny, this, won't give surgery to people because they're not old enough. Or their body mass index is too high. There's reasons it's contraindicated for you to receive the surgery. But it can be very financially beneficial to you if you have a discussion about that before you have the surgery. Once you have the surgery, you're locked in on what your schedule award is going to be. If you have the discussion beforehand, you might be able to double your money and then still get OWCP to pay for your surgery. You just have to put up with the pain for a little bit longer.
That sounds good and good.
Yeah.
Okay. I know a lot of you guys are asking me a million questions on schedule awards. So what we're going to do, I'll talk to Eric, and sometime next month when he's free, another Wednesday night, we'll have him just come on and completely go over schedule award completely, from how you get one, what it takes to get one, and all of that, because I know he has a great topic on accidents. I know we talked to Eric about certain kind of insurance you guys need, and I want to get that out of the way real quick before we end.
Good.
So Eric, if you could talk a little bit about third-party accidents.
Yeah, that's a good topic. And I had this issue in 2 separate cases today where the federal worker was injured severely as a result of the accident and was not carrying underinsured motorist coverage on their own car. The most valuable investment you can do as a federal worker, especially a postal worker who's using their own vehicle, even if you're not using your own vehicle, get as much possible coverage as you can in underinsured and uninsured motorist coverage. A lot of people out there on the street right now don't have any insurance at all. Your uninsured motorists would cover you in the case of an accident. A lot of people out there in the street have very minimal policy limits. I think Florida is $10,000 or $20,000. What is it, Jeannie? What's the minimum in Florida? 20? 10?
10.
10. So if you're in an accident with somebody with minimal policy limits and you have $50,000 in damages, the only amount you're going to get is $10,000 because that's all they have, and you have no UIM coverage. Get underinsured, uninsured motorists. It's cheap. Your agent is not going to push it because they don't make a whole lot of money on it, but it's the most beneficial insurance you can possibly have. Absolutely, bar none.
What about policies that in the fine print says does not cover work-related accidents?
Yeah, there's a lot of policies out there that say that now. You got to make sure if you're using your personal vehicle that you're going to be covered in the event of an accident using it for work purposes. You got to understand these policies have become more specialized because of Uber, because of Lyft, because of all these different purposes for which people are using their vehicles now. And the insurance companies have gotten smart on this, and they exclude so much. So you've got to have a conversation with your insurance agent on whether or not you're covered. What's that policy you can get, Chris? Is it rural carriers insurance or something? Your union people can tell you, but you've got to get that coverage in place. I've had so many cases where I get calls from the injured workers insurance company. We wanted to file a claim, and they say we have a specific policy exclusion for vehicle use for work purposes.
You got to know your policies.
Yeah. Well, we got to read the policies. I mean, people never read their policies. Lawyers don't read the policies. They have reduction clauses so that if the state allows it, you can reduce the amount that's paid by the at-fault party on your uninsured, underinsured motorists. I personally carry the maximum amount, $500,000 underinsured, uninsured motorists. Because if me or one of my family members is injured in an accident, it's not hard to get the $500,000 in damages anymore. It's just not.
Yeah.
So you want to have that coverage. You really do. And the two fatality accidents I've had this year so far, one had great policy limits, one had minimal policy limits. So this poor federal worker who was killed, the family got minimal policy limit damages. That's horrible. Fortunately, OWCP will cover half of that that deceased worker's income to the family for the rest of their life. So that's one good benefit. But you got to make sure you know how to get that. There's other benefits too that we've gotten for them that no personal injury attorney would have ever figured out.
Yeah.
Faye Wood said, can I call and talk my case? Oh, she wants to call you and have her caseworker talk to you together. Can you do that?
Not unless we're retained. OWCP will not discuss anything with us because of privacy. The Privacy Act, the Federal Freedom of Information and Privacy Act, precludes them from discussing anything with me unless I'm a retained attorney.
Melanie Ramney said, union in Wisconsin are zero help with work injuries and also refer to call Devin Cassidy at National. I wish our local union was better trained and knowledgeable.
So that's a rural carrier. Devin's the OWCP rep with the rural carriers. It's tough. I mean, we know a lot of those folks out in Wisconsin, and I say give the unions a little bit of a break because this is tough. But they should be willing to file grievances and push, and be in your corner. I definitely that.
Yeah. The union is doing an amazing job for what they've got. I mean, learning all the union rules and the labor rules, and then having to worry about OWCP too. Correct me if I'm wrong, Chris. The union employs people who are specialists in OWCP to help them. Is that correct?
Okay, so some unions have more people than others.
Okay.
But I can't think of one that doesn't have OWCP representatives.
And God bless
the
them.
Carriers,
They're helping a million people. One guy. They're helping a million people, and they're overworked, they're overburdened, and honestly, they're doing the best they can. They don't know the nuances of the system. They know the generalities. When you start getting in these expanded claims and entitlement to OPM, and that's I think beyond them. To the extent of working through the problems, they do a good job with what they have. But they have a lot of people to help.
No doubt about it. I know how Devin Cassidy feels. I know how it feels to be one guy with all these people to help.
Yeah,
one guy. He's doing the best he can. Anyways,
Brenda Baker said, slip and fall, injured teeth. Case was approved. We'll need more work in the future. Does a schedule award close your case?
There's no schedule award for teeth. The bigger problem I see in that case is I don't know of any dentists that take OWCP.
Neither do
Do you,
I.
Chris? Yeah.
No.
I
No,
don't have
you
any.
probably end up having to use your health insurance and then get reimbursed later with a 915 form.
Well,
And
use the health insurance and let the health insurance company go for subrogation with OWCP. Don't get in the middle of that mess.
well, they do that automatically, but the patient can turn their expenses in with a form OWCP 915 and go ahead and get paid back for their copays and things.
Yes. Yeah.
Francis Locke said, that's what happened in my case. The pizza delivery guy who rear-ended me while I was delivering mail had an exclusion on his policy that didn't cover the accident. The pizza place also had an exclusion on their insurance policy, so neither were held liable for the accident.
How do you feel about that, Eric?
It's state law specific, and it's contract specific. So that's a very complex case. In that situation, if it were me, I'd be covered because I have $500,000 in underinsured and uninsured motorist coverage. So I would have at least a policy I could go to. That's why it's so important to have the underinsured and uninsured motorist coverage. You have to be a named insured on your policy, but it doesn't matter if you're in an LLV. It doesn't matter if you're in my vehicle. If you're in your vehicle, Chris, if you're injured as a result of somebody else's negligence, you can go to your own policy for coverage. It doesn't matter what vehicle you're in.
That's right.
Tabitha said, is an injury to your back not covered by an award?
Usually not, unless it causes symptoms into your limbs.
Faye, where'd she go? Faye Wood said, so before I can talk to Eric, I need to pay a fee. I just want to know who to talk to about my case that I've been fighting for almost 5 years.
Okay. No, you don't have to pay us to just talk to us. We do offer a service where we'll go through a case file for a set fee and give an opinion. That's called a file review. And we try to encourage those a little bit because you don't necessarily need to hire us, but there could be one small fact in a case that changes everything. I'll give somebody 10 minutes. Now, I may not return a call immediately. It may take me a few days to return a call, but I'll give somebody 10 minutes. I've got to, again, I'm issue focused. Tell me what the issue is. Let's work through the issue. I don't want to hear everything about how horrible your supervisor treats you and how the entire work environment is toxic and how your claims examiner doesn't return calls. I know how bad it is. Let's figure out what the issue is. Let's figure out a resolution for the issue.
Judy says, once you get your schedule award, are you done getting paid from OWCP?
No, not necessarily. You can go, that's the reason why OPM disability retirement is so valuable. There's something called prohibition against dual benefits. And you cannot collect OWCP compensation at the same time you're collecting a schedule award for the same injury. If you're on OWCP compensation for a knee injury from 2012, and you also have a rotator cuff injury from 2018, you can get the schedule award for the rotator cuff while you're getting paid for the knee injury. There's all these dual benefit exclusions that come into play. Again, this is not simple. You can see why real quick a personal injury attorney who doesn't deal with this stuff regularly doesn't know what they're talking about half the time. And it's not their fault. They just don't have the experience they need to understand what benefit you can collect when.
Judy says, once you get your schedule award, are you done getting paid from OWCP?
No. You can go back onto OWCP. If you're done with your schedule award and you still have a disability, you can go back onto OWCP. In fact, the rule is, most people don't know this, if you're on the periodic roll and you go off the periodic roll to get your schedule award and then collect OPM disability retirement benefits, when the term of the schedule award ends, you're supposed to automatically be put back on the periodic roll. A lot of claims examiners will make you prove that you have a continuing disability, but that's not what the procedure manual says. Procedure manual says you will be put back on the periodic roll. And if they want to question it at that point in time, they can send you a second opinion.
Mike Joseph says, I thought at some you said that we should get our MMI rating before we had any type of surgery. Once we have surgery, we could actually be in a better condition and therefore get less of a schedule award.
It depends on what we're talking about as far as a schedule award. Specifically with respect to joint interval space measurements, if that's the basis for your schedule award, you're generally better off getting a schedule award before surgery. Because after your surgery, you don't have that deprivation of joint interval space measurements. A schedule award for a knee replacement is 25%. A schedule award for somebody with zero interval space measurements in their knees is 50%. That's why I say you get paid twice as much pre-surgery if you've got 0 interval joint space measurements in your knee in one of 3 joints, lateral, medial, or patellofemoral. Well, patellofemoral is different, but lateral or medial joint measurement, you're going to get twice as much money than if you get the surgery done first.
So a lot of people are asking this question in their head right now. Can I refuse surgery,
Yes.
get a schedule award, and then go get surgery after
Yes.
that?
Yes.
And let's say they have a surgery after it. Now they're way better than they were pre-surgery.
Yeah.
How much of their schedule award do they have to pay back?
0.
Exactly.
Connie says, can I contact Eric tomorrow if I have multiple issues and find out how much the consultation is, or do I need to ask my question here?
Tell her to call the office. It may take
Call
me
the
a couple days to
office.
get back.
Everybody just blow his office up tomorrow.
Yeah, I'll tell you right now, we have a law clerk working for us this summer who's getting ready to start law school, and we've got a 3rd-year law student who's going to come to work for me next year when she graduates. So we've got help. And don't hesitate to talk to them. They understand what's going on, and they can narrow down things for me. If it's a technical issue they don't know the answer to, they're going to say, Eric, you need to make this return call.
Deborah Gullich said, my sciatic nerve is causing pain down my buttocks and down my leg. Does that make it acceptable for a schedule award? My case is accepted.
Potentially.
Dr. Cooper?
Or any of the doctors.
Yeah, potentially. I mean, yeah. What's that? Patellofemoral? What's that? I've got one just like that right now up in Virginia. And we're just trying to get the lady paid all her back pay first. But we got her approved for OPM disability retirement. There's some really unique conditions that I see that these physicians diagnose. And it's a case-by-case basis. I can't say definitively whether you get a scheduled award or not, but there's a potential for it.
Yeah.
Patty Plummer said, I have a brachial plexus injury, so the upper half of my arm and shoulder are paralyzed, causing my spine severely to be deformed. Need to see a neurospine surgeon. Current physician says that I have to wait until this is accepted as a consequential injury in order to seek treatment. Is there any way going around having to wait for it to be accepted before getting treatment?
Yes. Use your insurance. Use your insurance. Don't wait. While you're waiting for OWCP to get off their butts and approve that, you're getting worse. And when you finally get it approved, it's going to be more difficult to get the treatment you need. Use your insurance right now. Get the treatment you need, then go for the expansion. That's my go-to answer to anybody that has federal employees health benefits, FEHB. Use your insurance.
And as soon as you get the diagnosis expanded, you'll be able to fill out that, just again, I'm saying this, OWCP 915 form and get the money back that you paid out of your pocket. And the insurances will deal with each other.
Yep. The system is not set up for consequential conditions. I'm telling you that. We've been raising this issue with the director of OWCP, Chris Godfrey, and the powers that be, Mark Foley, and Adam Calandrello. They know this is an issue, and they're trying to work on a resolution for how we make application for a consequential condition. I think this year they'll have a new form for that. They don't yet, but they are trying to address it. So we appreciate that. We appreciate them listening to us and having dialogue with us about the problems we see that do help people. And we've gotten cases through the system that are helping everybody because they've changed the law, rightly so, to cover more cases that they didn't before.
Deborah Schultz said, how do they handle nerve damage? I damaged a nerve in my right leg back in 2006, was treated for 2 years, and doctor quit, and I couldn't find another in my area. So I simply lived with it. It happened on the job. Can I still go back and claim it? I'll never have surgery. It's a life injury.
So you're also dealing with reporting. I mean, I guess it was reported on time. Did she indicate it was reported within 3 years?
It's a 206.
It needed to be reported on time, but then the other issue is missing deadlines on, appeals. There's a lot of landmines there.
My question right there is, she's still working. Is there an aggravation of the condition? Because if she's still working, there's an aggravation. You can write it up as an aggravation, a new CA2 or CA1.
So yeah, we got to know if she's still working. But that's a good answer.
Patisse Lee said, I haven't received any money from OWCP.
A lot of reasons that could be.
Yeah.
So you probably want to send us a message and somebody will give you a call from my side, and we'll walk you through it and see what the problems are.
All right. Does anybody have any other questions for Eric so we could let him go sleep?
I need a drink.
Get him the bottle of water right there.
Yeah.
That's not the drink I want, Jeannie.
Oh.
Don't worry. This
Margarita.
Yeah.
Beer. Beer's fine.
I can't do this without having a drink. My mouth gets too dry from talking.
All right, guys, this is the last question we're going to have Eric answer, and then Chris and I will be on for the last 30 minutes. Eric, what if you get a letter from Blue Cross Blue Shield Insurance saying they have turned over your injury to OWCP, but you need another surgery on the same condition, and OWCP won't approve the surgery? What do you do?
Go
to a Federal Injury Centers doctor and get the claim.
Yeah.
There's
something wrong. There's something wrong with that fact pattern. I've never heard of an insurance company turning something over to OWCP. That doesn't make sense to me. Blue Cross Blue Shield has a subrogation company called Rawlings that is all the time trying to get OWCP to accept these things. I need a little bit more. I need a few more facts on that one, Jeannie, to give a good answer.
And then the last thing, this is a statement. It's from Joe Hain. My question is for Eric, is have you always been a genius?
Trust me, I've forgotten a whole lot more than I know. I can assure you of that. So no,
that's awesome.
I've been a genius.
All right, guys. So we want to thank Eric for coming on.
Yeah, thanks so much for being here.
And I will plan something with Eric where he can teach all the ins and outs about schedule awards.
I will comment all you want. I'm not teaching anybody anything. Every case is fact specific. It really is. And, generic answers, you can give them, but every case has little nuances that change the entire case. So it's a very difficult practice area. There's not enough lawyers out there. I'm sorry for that. I've been trying to encourage claims examiners to come out and at least open up a practice to help people. They know the system. They do. But if you're not willing to fight for your clients, you're not going to be successful. But we're willing to fight for everybody. So, Jeannie and Chris, thank you for everything you do. We would not be where we are without you. So thank you.
Shucks.
I'll talk to you all tomorrow. Hey, good. Have a safe travel.
Yep. Thanks. See you, Eric. Thanks again.
You're welcome.
All right. Well, wow.
That was really awesome, guys.
Yeah, that was our first time. So Jeannie went and found this this new program or software. I don't know what we call it when you're my age. It's program or software that allows us to now publish these videos on multiple social media sites at the same time, and it also allows us to bring guests on like this. And so, in future weeks, we intend to bring more people on for interviews. Like Dr. Cooper is definitely going to be invited on, probably the first one. I'm going to want to have Rich Ray come on and talk about things from a union perspective. And, we'll be able to bring some different people in that have a different perspective than mine. Okay. You get mine every week. So we'll start at least partially, 15, 20, 30 minutes, whatever you guys want, bring some other people on. So I'm open to your suggestions. If there are people that you want me to have on to interview, we will certainly bring them on as a priority. And I think this is really educational. I mean, I still learn things from Eric.
Yes, we do.
So like that, write a letter to your claims examiner and upload it by eComp. That's a great one. I wish I would have thought of it.
Yeah.
When your claims examiner won't get back to you, you say, I want to speak to a supervisor. And in writing, if you eComp it, they're required to review it. So that's brilliant. I wish I would have thought of it.
So I know a lot of you guys are asking to make this shareable. So because we're not streaming from Facebook, I think you'll have to share it after the fact. I'm sorry it's that way. We're just trying to get as many social media areas because we're doing it on LinkedIn, we're doing it on Instagram, we're doing it on YouTube and Facebook. So we're trying to cover everything social media. That way you guys who doesn't have whatever can see it. And this way we have more people watching and trying to help more people. So with that said, this is how we will be doing it. And like Chris said, we will definitely be bringing on different doctors, different union folks from all the different agencies, because we know a bunch of them. And we're glad that you're here, and tell all your friends and your coworkers, again, YouTube, LinkedIn, Instagram, and Facebook. It's just under Wednesday night OWCP chats with Chris and Jeannie. So they could find us everywhere. All the videos will be saved, so you never have to worry about that. So those of you that are catching the replay, we're still here.
And we're recording on, or we're live on a laptop versus a phone, which means we have the subtitles too.
Yeah.
So a lot of people have asked for that and understandably are frustrated that we don't have them. It's just now that we're using the computer instead of a phone, we're able to do that. So hopefully we'll have an enhanced show for you and be able to change some things up and keep it interesting.
Yeah. There's a lot of things I still have to work on because this program is awesome. I get to put videos and music. So when you guys come on, you'll be hearing some music before we start. So we're working with that. But I just wanted to touch base on, you guys know that we stopped all of our meet and greets because we were out recruiting doctors. So we're going to start again.
Yep.
August 25th. Let me double check. August 25th in Cottonwood Heights. It's 21 minutes away from downtown Salt Lake and 37 minutes from Park City. And
for those of you that don't just know cities off the top of your head,
Provo.
We're talking about Utah.
Yeah. We're going to do an open house meet and greet with our new doctor, Dr. Wood, out in Cottonwood Heights. So,
Utah.
Yeah, Cottonwood Heights, Utah. So those of you in the Utah area, make your way up or down to Cottonwood Heights. We'd love to see you. We're gonna have a little bit of appetizers. We'll do Chris will do a 15-minute little training session. So come on down.
And you get to meet the doctors, see the office, and meet with us. And like I said at the beginning of this, we really love being able to go places and meet you in person. I feel like I know so many of you already just from interactions through comments on Facebook. But there's a lot of you that we've been able to get to know in person, like, Tanya Ferry in Las Vegas. It's nice to be able to go places and put a face with a name. And then, we've become really good friends with a lot of people in the federal world. So wherever we are, make an effort to get out and meet us. We really appreciate it.
And those of you that are in Utah, Colorado, Idaho, Wyoming, and
Arizona.
New Mexico, Arizona, we are going to be at the APW 5-state convention tomorrow. We're flying in tomorrow. We're getting up at the crack of 3 o'clock again. We'll be in Tucson at the DoubleTree. And Chris will be training for, I think, 6 hours.
There's no way it's 6 hours.
6 or 8 hours, according to what we heard.
3 hours.
He'll be training on OWCP. So we look forward to meeting all of those federal friends in those 5 states. We're so super excited. And if anybody wants to come and meet us after, you can.
We'll have a booth outside. And
yeah,
we'll have a lot of fun just sitting and talking. We don't even have to talk OWCP. Don't worry.
And while we're there, we're going to ask, hey, everybody else that's in other the 5 states, what locations would you like us to put a doctor in? So we'll be taking some cities and states down for that to pass it on to Joe. But other than that, we're also going to have one of our doctors from Norwood, Massachusetts on maybe next week or the following week. We're going to let you know. And again, we'll have Eric again on sometime next month. We'll try to bring him on at least once a month because a lot of you have questions. But if you see, it's pinned down below, Eric's office phone number. Give him a call. And those of you that have been asking on there, do we have, we're working on San Diego, Jill. Those of you that are asking for locations, please go to the website, federalinjurycenters.com, click locations, and you'll see all of the locations there. Just keep checking back every month because Chris adds them as they get done training.
Right.
There's also a tab for schedule award doctors, which there's not that many, but at least we have started some. And please put a doctor in Central Illinois.
Yeah, because we're not in Central. We're way up there.
So go check out the federalinjurycenters.com locations tab. I will go ahead and post that and Eric's information after the chat. And I know a lot of you watched my video that I did today from Snapchat. Yeah, I thought I'd just do something funny. I don't even think Chris has seen it, but he's going to kill me probably.
Hey,
after.
and we do have someone coming in Mississippi. He's training right now.
Yes.
And we've got a few doctors in Chicago or north of Chicago.
Yeah. So with that said, those of you again that are going to be at the APW convention, I know some of you are already there. We will see you guys Saturday morning.
Yeah.
Chris is teaching. And
we are going to be in Gilbert, Arizona tomorrow for a couple of hours.
Yes.
And we're going to be in Tucson on Friday at Dr. Heaton's office.
And again, those of you in the Utah area, mark your calendars. August 25th, we will be in the office doing an open house meet and greet. So we look forward to that. Don't forget, if you haven't got your third book, please go to breakingowcp.com. It's really good to get the PDF version. I know a lot of you want the hardcover, which we still have a lot of copies, but the PDF is so good because you can put it in your pocket.
Yeah, you download it to your phone. And somebody mentioned that there may be a problem at the website, which wouldn't have surprised me because we've had some issues with it. But I got up a second ago when I left the video to check it, and it's up. So you can go to breakingowcp.com if you want to take a look at the books.
Tiffany, we were just in Las Vegas and we just got home on Sunday,
Monday. And we met a few doctors that are really, really serious looking at our franchise agreement. So cross your fingers.
We will be in Gilbert, Arizona around between 11 and 12.
Closer to 12.
Yeah, because we have to drive from Tucson. Joe, please message me on the messenger that you need to talk to Chris, and I will get him your phone number. I know a lot of you want to talk to Chris one-on-one. I'm telling you, when he wakes up at 8 o'clock in the morning, he's stuck in this office. Okay, 7. He's stuck in this office for like 12 hours straight sometimes. So if he doesn't get back to you right away, just send me a message, tell me what it's about, and I will get it to him. And the last thing before we say goodnight, please remember all the locations are trained. The ones that we have up, you can and should give the offices a call so they could answer your OWCP questions. All the questions that you guys are asking me on Messenger, I'm happy to answer them. But when I tell you, go ahead and call the office, you can call the office and ask any of those questions because they are trained to answer those questions.
But if you're for any reason not satisfied with the responses, the answers, come back to us and let us know. That probably means I need to do some more training, and that's okay. It's a business just like yours that you're in. There's turnover in it. Mistakes happen. So when those things happen, I love that you guys let me know. So I tell everyone, if someone complains, that's a gift. Say thank you.
Yeah.
So I'm going to say thank you in advance. If you're having any problems, just let me know, because part of my job is to make sure they're doing their job right.
Yeah. So any concerns, we don't say complaints, any concerns you have about any of the offices, you're welcome to message me. And on the messenger, I'm just letting you guys know, no one else sees your messages to us, just Chris and I.
Yeah.
Nobody else. So all your questions are kept safe with us. It's going to be tomorrow morning in Gilbert from 11 to 12, sometime in between there. And then we have to leave right after that back to Tucson. But it'll be
from 12 to 1 is when we'll be there.
12 to 1? Okay. So 12 to 1 in Gilbert at Dr. Rue's office. I will go ahead and I'll post that after as well. But we won't be there for very long. So come on and we'll say hello. And then we'll be heading to Tucson. So if there's anybody in Tucson, we will be at Dr. Heaton's office after that.
On Friday.
So with that said, don't forget, phone number is 877-787-OWCP. Any questions that we missed, I apologize. We'll go ahead and get them answered. You can send them to the messenger on the Wednesday night OWCP chats page. Don't forget to click the follow button and tell your friends. If you're looking for locations, go to federalinjurycenters.com, click locations, as well as if you're looking for a scheduled ward doctor. And also if you're looking to get any of the books, PDF or hardcover, on the third book, go to breakingowcp.com. I know somebody said there was an issue with the website. Chris will look into that.
No, it's
working. Okay, so the website's working.
But if you have a problem, like some people have an issue downloading, just make sure you don't leave the page too soon. There's sometimes one last button to click. But if you attempted to download it and it would not download, just send me a message and I'll email it to you. No problem.
Yeah. And we will see you guys next week. We will actually be in Tallahassee that night. So the lighting might be a little off. And we're going to have Joe with us. So we'll have Joe with us on our chats.
Next week.
Yeah, next week. So thank you guys all again for coming on. We know we missed a few questions. We're going to get to them. And, you know, we're very fortunate that Eric made the time for us to answer your questions.
That was awesome.
So thank you all again. And we hope you like this new way that we're streaming to spread the word.
Yeah, if you got any tips on how to make it more fun, let us know. We love those things. So
yeah.
All right, so we're going to let you go. We've thanked you enough times, but one more time, thank you. All right, we'll see you next week.
Thank you, guys.
Good night.
Bye.